Slobathon resumes. This is Levi Reed, everybody. All of the slobs are amazing people. Truly, I love all of them so much. Levi, you have a special distinction among slobs. You're a man among slobs.
A king among slobs.
You came in through a special project, and then you said, you know what, we had fun, let's just keep going. If you're one of the 50 that received a BoxMac VHS tape, not only was it shipped to you by Levi directly, but he made the whole project happen. So I'll tell how about we do it this way? I'll tell my side of the story, then you tell your side of the story. And you know, you can roast me and I'll be very reverent towards you. We'll do it that way.
And so, I'll cackle when necessary.
EJ will throw his head back and cackle.
I couldn't ask for anything more.
Levi became like a patron. We started chatting a little bit. I think you were like ordering some Blu-rays, right? Was kind of like where we started chatting. Yeah, I remember one of our earliest interactions. You were like, "Hey, anyway, you could sign those," and I was like, "Not really, no." I was just such a dick. Actually, I think the reason was because they were already in the mail, and I couldn't, you know, getting John to sign stuff, and EJ is far away. But I'm always like, well, if you want a Frankie signature, I mean, I guess you could have that. But
what happened was I sent an email as I ordered them. I ordered them, and then I sent the email out. I was like, "Can I get those signed?" And then it got immediately sent to spam.
It went to spam. Yeah.
And I had to follow up via Patreon to be like, "Hey guys, did that email ever go through?"
Yeah, and you were kind of starting in the middle a little bit. I was like, "What the hell is he talking about?" And then I was like, "Oh, I missed a bunch of emails from it." I'm not really the guy who misses emails, so it's a little, it's a little embarrassing. But it's unfortunate actually because we have I get people contact me on a regular basis, and an unfortunate amount goes to spam actually, because like people coldly emailing you,
Yeah, I get most of my Red Cow like emails go to spam, and I don't check my spam folder. I should know by now, but I don't.
Yeah, I've gotten into the swing of it for sure, to make sure that I never pass up on a BetterHelp sponsorship deal, but or a Temu. There was one Temu in the mix actually, but
one Temu.
One Temu, please. Wait, and you were in the Discord at this point too, and I think you were starting to ask people like, "What do you think? Like, if you could put together a best of BoxMac,
hypothetically,
if you could, if you would, if you did, what would be on there?" I think I weighed in on a few. Basically the question was, would it be okay if I put some of your episodes on VHS? Really, what you were asking was like, I'm a VHS collector. And you're a young guy, too, which makes it even stranger. What are you, you're 27 about?
Yeah, thereabouts.
Yeah. We couldn't possibly give it a real number.
Mm-hmm. Why will elaborate on that?
No, I won't.
So the VHS situation reveals this. You are a legacy media collector. And I would say you're like more than an enthusiast. Like, you're in a small percentile of, because you collect for VHS, Laserdisc. Do you have film?
Yeah, I actually brought some for show and tell.
Oh, sweet.
So these two guys are some of the smaller ones. This is some of the Max Fleischer Superman cartoons.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
So this is the Mechanical Monsters, which is phenomenal. It is my favorite one.
Do you have a projector at home?
I have 3 16mm projectors.
What?
Oh, hell yeah.
So I do the traditional theater setup. You get one reel ready on one of them. You play it on the other one. When you see the cue markers, you swap them real fast so there's no break. Listen, I know Fight Club. I know Fight Club says cigarette burns.
In the industry, we call them cigarette burns.
Nobody says that.
What was in the back of my mind when you asked the question was, I've kind of always wanted to put BoxMac on VHS. How far are you willing to take this? So then, we picked out the episodes or whatever. I said, well, I think, the Halloweens would be really good because, they were kind of made for VHS in a lot of ways. And then I picked out some episodes and you started cutting. And I was like, oh, what are you doing? And you were like, well, I'm going to make it all 4x3. And I was like, you're going to go through all that trouble? And he was like, well, yeah, I'm putting them on VHS. Like, they belong in 4x3. I was like, wow. So you're going to like pan and scan and all that? He's like, yeah. But Levi was working off of YouTube rips. And so he has no access to the source footage like I do. So he can't resize stuff and make it, and make it nice. And, me being me, the moment I saw anything that was like, that we could go back to the source footage and fix, I had to.
PTSD from those like the Joker VHS stretched improperly.
Oh yeah, right. And I think I got the Katie video VHSs after that, and they came in vertically stretched, and I was like, oh wow, we must be doing something unique here to actually like take the time to make this look good.
I've gotten custom VHS releases of modern films before. I have Blade Runner 2049 on VHS.
Did you get it through Katie Video, or who did you get it through?
I got it through a company called Retro Release Video. I was at VHS Fest one year, and I bought it from them. The thing is, they maintain the widescreen aspect ratio.
And it's a wide movie, isn't it?
It's a wide movie.
Yeah.
So
it's like Ultra Panavision or something.
So you get like 1/6 of your 4x3 television, and it has sort of that opening text of like, replicants are not human, they cannot reproduce, all that. You cannot read the text at all. It's like it almost looks like slight pixel errors on the screen, like when your shadow mask has drifted a little bit. You're like, no.
It's like when you play a modern game on a CRT. It's like all the text is unreadable.
Yeah, it was like the Xbox 360 area when they switched over, where you had Dead Rising was a huge controversy because it was, you have to have HDMI in order to read the text. All of the dialogue and everything is just lost. And everyone was pissed because it's like, dude, it's like 2005. It's like 2006. I still have my RCA from 1995. Help.
Help. So we did it. We worked, mostly Levi worked his ass off. Chris LaRue, who we'll have to have on here at some point too, who's been doing our Blu-ray inserts and now did the tape. And I just love them. It's like, basically, I've been thanking you for months because I was like, through you just showing up in my life and being like, let's do this cool project together. And also for being so agreeable and coming along for the ride with me, because I later fully understood that the only intention you ever had was to have some personal items. And then I was like, would you do the fulfillment? Would you do the whole enchilada? And you're like, yeah. And I mean, the dude ran to the post office a few thousand times. And you can talk about this. He's trying to get tapes out to Canada during a Canadian mail strike.
Oh
my goodness. It was like 5 or 6 trips to the post office of like, okay, so we got the domestic tapes. We got some of these they're sending out. Oh, this one's going to Georgia. This one's going to North Carolina. This one's going to and they can't take it. So I'm bringing back the armloads of Canadian VHSs over and over again. And I'm like, one of these days.
Those damn Canadians just love their mac and cheese content.
I know. Well, yeah, we've always found that there are some hotbeds where we seem to have BoxMac fans specifically. Texas and Canada we're pretty well represented for BoxMac fans. I don't know that a modern VHS collection has ever had so much premium care.
No.
Personally approved. And then, you'd think that Levi would be like, enough already. He starts being like, how about having fun up there on VHS? How about some Christmas episodes on VHS? What do you think? And I'm all about it. I think if you're willing, and if the audience, it could be that we run this gimmick into the fucking ground, but I'm thinking like 2 a year. We do, so that we don't wear anybody out, and then we can be kind of strategic in what we choose. And but yeah, I think a Christmas BoxMac, and I think having fun up there is probably next.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's I was thinking about this the whole week. I'm like, man, that guy who wanted less guests and less VHS is going to be pissed.
We're going to have the guy who's just making VHS.
Fuck him.
It's over. You got the worst of both worlds.
He unsubbed from Patreon. He gave us his exit interview, and we said, thanks for your feedback, and he's out.
Yeah, he's out. Fuck him.
I've heard from the occasional fan who's like, I like guests, and I like VHS. So there. And you've already, you must have had a rainy day or something. You presented to me having fun up there in 4x3, and you know what? It looked pretty damn good. What happened right when we were ready to fulfill all those VHSs?
So, Canada took a little bit to get us the sleeves. And there was all this downtime of waiting for the sleeve.
Oh yeah, people ask all the time, what was the company? You identified a company that would do the printing.
It's like replication.ca. We'll put it in the edit.
They send you like flattened versions and then you got to pop them out and create them yourself. Yeah.
To put it into perspective, for the folks at home, for those of you who haven't dubbed tapes in a long time, maybe you've never dubbed tapes, maybe you're a little on the younger side and you think all of us are crazy, you have to do this in real time. The BoxMac Best Of is 90 minutes. The Halloween is 2.5 hours. And you have to do that in real time.
How long have we been copying tapes today? Yeah, because we've been here since 10 a.m. and it is currently
7:24.
Yeah. It has just been a day of these same 6 episodes running through those decks. And tomorrow is the Halloween, which is an hour longer.
Yeah.
I had 2 duo VHS decks, one of which went down halfway through production. So it's like I'm running 2 tapes at a time, but it's still every 90 minutes or every 2.5 hours, you only get 2 tapes.
So Brian, it's like 10:45 on day 2. We've made it.
Is it?
I think so. A really long time.
I'm staring at this guy.
We have been staring at Frankie and John's faces for 2 days now, for 12 hours at a time, off and on. We've just been kind of here. And how does that make you feel,
I
sir?
see them in my sleep.
Yeah.
I see them when I close my eye.
And I was in the midst of a move at the time. I did a section with a friend of mine who was also doing VHS.
The voice that often plays in my head is when in Attack of the Clones, when C-3PO goes into the factory.
Yeah.
And he's like,
It's a nightmare!
that echoes into my head at least once a week.
So we dubbed through a ton of them. I moved across the country. I moved my setup. I get the rest of them dubbed, and I'm like, thank God, finally.
This is what 40 BoxMac tapes look like.
I send Frankie the proofs.
Like 7 of them, one for EJ, John, Matt.
One
the
for
first
each
kind
of them.
Yeah.
The first of the crop, the first fruits of my labor.
A beautiful
And
letter is written about, hey, if you could put one aside for old Levi and maybe sign it this time.
I tried my best, and it was a beautiful moment. What was happening behind the scenes was, and that's the thing. I want to say up front, Frankie, thank you so much for pushing for your vision. Ultimately, it was a combination of the 2 of us coming together that made it a quality product, that made it something really cool, that was worth everyone's time, that made it's something we could be proud of without reservation. I want to say that up front. I get the message, and he's like, it's wrong. I'm like, it's wrong. And I'm sitting there, and there's an entire pile of blue and yellow VHS tapes. 100 of them that I just dubbed. And I'm like, they're wrong, Frankie. Do tell how they're wrong. And he's like, there's something going on with the aspect ratio. It's stretched or it's squished. Like there's something wrong.
And you know how I feel about that shit.
And we know how he feels. And I was
Thoroughly
like,
documented.
and we're going back and forth, and this is one of those like moments of miscommunication where it's my chain of command brain, and it's a little bit of like, this is not my money, this is not my art, like whatever Frankie wants, I am willing to do it because I didn't make BoxMac. I didn't create BoxMac. I'm not in charge of BoxMac. I am producing a VHS for Mr. Frayne, and what Mr. Frayne says goes. It's not my money, ultimately. I am working for Frankie. This has moved beyond a fan project. And it's also a little bit of chain of command brain, where it's just like, I'm here to follow orders at this point. When it was 2 to 4 tapes that I was making, it like I could have some creative call and response. But when it moves into full production and it's not my money, I have way less say in my brain. So I'm like, Frankie, what would you like to do?
Oh, yeah. Now I remember.
Text is a fickle thing, and you can't read tone. So I'm like, Frankie, what would you like to do? And I'm getting this like, well, what would you like to do? And I'm like, Frankie, it's your art, buddy. Like, you gotta make the call, and and I remember it like, I'm chafing. I don't like this. It's my art thing. And I'm like, Frankie, it's not my goddamn money. So here's sort of the perspective. VHS enthusiasts are insane. All of them are insane. We are a crazy bunch. And because VHS is kind of lower quality, people will accept KD Video's nonsense, where they squish the picture and they totally freaking mangle the thing, because it's tape. It's like people watch shot on video stuff, and I'm like, okay.
It's not meant to be a pristine version of the thing anyway.
It's not precise.
But I happen to believe that it should be precisely the way it should be.
And so that's the thing, is that I'm thinking to myself, I know this isn't perfect. I know this isn't the way it should be. However, it's sort of like if I'm preparing filet mignon for an 8-year-old. They don't know the difference.
Right.
They don't know the difference. It's like, it's not that they're stupid. It's that they're willing to accept less.
I saw a tweet recently. It was like, if you are making a meal and you fuck it up, just call it Chicago style.
Yeah, exactly. It's
No
like,
matter what it is, I just prepared a Chicago style.
It's a la Naples. It's like it's got something to it.
That's what Levi was trying to pass off on me, with some a la Naples tapes.
Well, so that's the thing, is that it was a total technical flub, where it's like the technology we were using was physically not capable of putting out what we thought. I'm looking at it and I'm like, this looks about right, but it could be my TV distorting. Like, I noticed the error.
It was driving me crazy that you didn't see the error. That's actually, look, if you want to get into the psychology of what was going on, it was because it was making me feel insane. So yeah, you go ahead. You seem to have a thought on that.
So that's the thing. I can remember it clear as day, because again, it's like this flashbulb moment of Frankie sends me the message, I don't know if you can't tell because you've been looking at it so long, or you couldn't tell in the first place. And that is disturbing.
Jeez, I sound like such a prick.
Now go home and get your fucking shine box.
Motherfucking you fucking.
And it was at this moment that I'm like, I'm going to drive to Massachusetts and I'm going to fucking kill him. I'm like, I'm going to kill him. I know that you have paid for the supplies on this and you will be paying me for my time. But I've dubbed 100 of these VHS tapes. And if you're going to start questioning my judgment now...
We came a long way, Levi. We came a long way for the wrong aspect ratio.
And again, it's one of the reasons why I'm like, I'm so glad you pushed for it, because there's no regrets. And ultimately, I knew there was something wrong. I knew that it wasn't right. But at the same time, I'm like, Frankie, I would like you to just make the call and tell me to redub these. Instead, I'm like, oh, now you're questioning my competence this far. It was a contentious moment.
Let me clear my good name. Here's what's really here's my side of that. I squinted at the TV to try to make it not a mistake. I was like, there's got to be some way that I'm going crazy. And I pulled out. I have another CRT. I pulled that out. I was playing it on everything. I was like, maybe this VCR. Is there something? Is it me? Is it my? There was a littler TV where the problem wasn't quite as bad. But I knew in my balls that the aspect ratio was wrong, and the last thing I wanted to do was have you redub all of this and have the whole project set back all that time. When you see something that is like, okay, a lot of work has to be redone here, and you're gonna have to be invested in that work. That's the other thing. It's like you actually have to do it. To be like, to hear like, I don't know, what do you want to do? Is a little bit like, well, wait a minute. Am I the only one who wants the thing to look right? And that's, that is just kind of, so I'm not a chain of command guy. I am very much, certainly in my job, like the last thing I ever want to hear from my team is like, I don't like, you know, if there's a mistake and they're like, I don't know, you want me to fix it? I'm like, well, yes, but like, I would much rather you want to fix it. You know, like I would, because I thought we were in this thing together. But okay, that's my rationalization. The truth is we were both looking at a bad situation.
What caused the aspect ratio to be wrong?
There is a little media player, and it's a good little media player. I've slipped into Trumpisms for some reason. The best media player.
There's a good little media player, and that's
Good
big and
little
beautiful,
one.
but it's very small. They're calling it little.
It puts out 4x3. It's not perfect 4x3. It's the weird rectangular pixels instead of the square ones. So it messed with the encoding, where I'm like, and I was going crazy because Frankie's like, it's wrong. And I'm like, it can't be wrong. And I can see it, and I'm like, I think it is wrong, but I'm like, but it can't be wrong. Because I'm like, I'm going back to the process. I'm like, from a technical standpoint, this is sound.
We had both seen the final 640 by 480 proof digitally. This is the first time I'm seeing it actually on tape. And if anybody's ever worked with standard def, there's digital standard def and there's analog standard def. That's really what it comes down to. And analog standard def is 640 by 480 and digital standard def is 720 by 480. In this case, you had a media player that that translated it directly to 720.
Yeah.
And it was that intermediary that was causing the problem.
And that was the biggest issue, because I'm going back through all of the codecs, all the video files. I'm like, it should be correct. It says 4x3. It says 4x3.
But there's two 4x3s.
So I finally sit down, and I remember, because at the time I was going through the idea of like, I have to redub 100 tapes, and you're texting me this, I don't think you see the problem here. And I'm like digging, at the time I'm moving. So I'm digging through my storage unit, trying to find something else to play it with. I'm like, there's got to be something. There's got to be one of these media players I can play through. So I'm digging through all this stuff while I'm getting the cold, emotionless texts of just like, there's
I'm sorry. I want to publicly apologize for what happened with those tapes. But obviously, I never wanted to cause you any distress. The psychology behind it is, when you see something and you're like, does anybody else see this? And if you don't get like at least one person being like, I see it, then you feel it, you start to go nuts and act.
Yeah.
badly.
Well, and that's the thing for the folks at home. If and when this makes the edit, this was a communications issue. This is one of those things that you kind of that come up in a project where you're like, it's one of the reasons I actually kind of hate text for this sort of thing. It drives people in my life crazy because I try and get them on a phone call. And I'm like, we need to hash this out now. We need to communicate this, and I need to be able to hear what you are saying to me. And it also allows us to clarify as quickly as we can. So this was an issue of communication. This wasn't. Yeah. This was a quarrel caused by the fact that we can't hear the tone in each other's voices.
Right. You should have heard how warm it sounded in real life.
Yeah.
In real life, I would have said, I don't know. I just can't tell. I don't know if you know what aspect ratios really look like, Levi.
Which I'm sure would land much better.
I think it'd be way worse.
Ultimately, what happened is that I'm digging through everything. I can't find the media players I want. I'm still struggling with the slings and arrows of this. And I sit down and I'm like, okay. I get it out in HDMI to composite converter. I just plug in my laptop. And I go through the settings, and I'm like, I'm setting this to 640 by 480 as an output. It's going to be a perfect output. I'm going to put it in this setting, and I'm going to play the file, and I'm going to record it. And that worked. And it worked flawlessly. And it looks great.
And then it had Father of the Bride at the end of it, too.
So the most common tape you will find in the wild is to 120. Can record 2 hours at the highest quality it can. 2 hours is actually usually around 122 minutes, give or take. The Halloween specials are bigger than that. They are clocking in at about 2.5 hours. So you need bigger tapes if you want to keep the whole quality. T160s are kind of expensive. They're kind of tough to put your hands on. So what we did was get some already used ones, which is a valid process. And then the problem is that there was stuff already used on it. That was actually one of the other tipping points. It's like, okay, the aspect ratio is wrong. okay, we're cutting off a little bit on the front because there's not enough buffer, and I thought there was enough buffer, but every VCR is different, so like half of them are cutting off the nice DTMF tone that we put in, and half of the Halloween tapes are going to have somebody's home recording of like Family Feud or Kundun on it, and it was all these kind of things piling up where I'm like, oh, this is bad, this is not good. But it's not my money, and I'm not in charge. And I'm like, Frankie, what do you want to do? And you're like, well, what do you want to do?
Why am I so triggered by that? It might be John's fault, John Hunt. Okay, I love him to death, right? He's my family member, basically. He's a lazy motherfucker.
I always use Ziploc because this is the epitome of laziness. Yeah. And it makes me very pleased to be lazy.
He will half-ass something, and then he'll come to you and say, like, do you want me to fix it? And I'll be like, you're leaving it up to me to whether or not it should be half-assed? Like, yeah, no, I don't want it to be half-assed. Yes. My apologies if I didn't make that clear up front. I think I am a little bit triggered by, like, when there's a glaring mistake and somebody's like, do you want me to fix the glaring mistake? I think that's where I'm coming from. You asking, do you want me to fix it, was not being avoidant. I interpret that kind of sentiment normally as being avoidant. What you were doing, you were going like, well, I will defer to the guy who is paying for the operation.
The clip that comes to my mind constantly is The Sopranos. It's an earlier episode where Christopher is standing in the rain. He's on the phone with Tony, and there's a guy that they need to bump off, but they're not quite sure. And Tony's a little ways out of town, and Christopher's yelling into the phone. He's like,
I am your soldier, Antonio. This is my duty, like we're always talking about.
I'm your soldier. Just tell me. Just like I'll do it.
To you, that's you being generous of spirit, not being like, ugh, if you want me to fix it, you know.
My mindset within creativity, within filmmaking, and within all of it, at the end of the day, and I think this is informed by, you know, faith and also military life. You're a servant. In every aspect, you are a servant. You serve many masters because you serve, if you're in a big enough production, you serve your producers. You serve your crew.
The audience.
Your audience.
Yep.
And you serve your story.
Yep.
You have, at minimum, 3 masters. And all of those people you have to do right by. As a director, you aren't emperor, you aren't king, you are a servant to not only the Promethean creative fire, but to the people around you. Because you're making the movie exciting and trying to push them along because you'd like an audience to like it and to enjoy it and to get something out of it. You're kind to your crew, not only because it makes the production move at a good clip, but because you love them. Because they're making this thing happen for you. Because without them showing up to set day after day, the movie doesn't get made. You're working well with your producers because your producers put their hard-earned money on the line for it. At the end of the day, it's the editor and everything else all the way down the line. You are a servant. And you are in a capacity to do right by every single person in that chain. From conception, to money, to production, to post-production, to the audience receiving it. You serve every single one of them.
Yeah, it doesn't exist for itself. It doesn't serve in a loop.
Yeah, it's like art for art's sake is a good way to look at it as an artist. Like, I don't need to make money off of this, but art needs to serve somebody.
You know, what's my goal with a 13,000 sub channel or whatever? It's to express myself and in doing so, connect with like-minded people and grow. And strange, like the podcast, which was such a side project, has turned into like such an effective way of connecting with so many people. It's kind of incredible.
There's a willingness for me to say, yeah, I'm gonna redub 100 tapes. Yeah, it's gonna take the next 3 weeks to do it, to get it done. But ultimately, Well, I am a servant to you because you're paying for this project and you produce the art that I wanted to put on this tape. I am a servant to the fan base because they're excited about this release. I'm a servant to the product itself because it deserves to be the best it can be. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I am a servant to God because I am supposed to do everything unto the people around me as if I was doing it for him.
One of the reasons that faith has helped me so much, I have found, for whatever reason, I have found myself in a leadership position in like basically every facet of my life, like from the creative to the professional to the family. Like everywhere I go, people are going like, "What do you think?" And it's weird, like to go through a whole day advising, and directing and pointing, and it's a privilege, and I'm glad I can be of use. But yeah, I've needed something. I've needed to fall on my face a little bit more often, and it's an area where I can just let go and be a child myself.
Listen, as a director and as a sergeant, and being in those places, if you are not serving your crew, they may respect you. Like, they may follow your orders, but behind closed doors, they hate you.
Right.
It's like they don't. There were plenty of guys that I worked with who were tough on policy, and they knew their stuff, and they'd go to bat for you. But ultimately, nobody liked them. Nobody liked working with them. Nobody enjoyed it. When you had the barbecues and you went out for beers, it's like ultimately, did you talk to them? Yeah, but because you kind of had to.
You had to, yeah.
But the guys who were really truly being servants to their people, who were looking out for them, who were trying their best to remember that there is something higher here. There's something higher that they're serving. It made teams. It made proper crews instead of just hierarchies.
Red Cow Arcade.